the two-part melodic dictation that you will do, okay, is you'll have a really simple bass line in the left hand. You will have some skips in the right hand, but they will be dictated by the harmony that's going on. So for this little melody here, it's actually pretty non-melodic because it's dictated by the chords. So we start on a 1 chord. So we're in E flat major. We start on a 1 chord. Then we go to a 5 chord, a 5/7 chord, to a 5/4/2, to a 1/6. Okay, so I am looking at these chunks. It's very every 2 beats. Okay, and that's how it's going to be for your first round of practice. So you can use that to your advantage. It will break away from that eventually, but for this round of practice, you're going to want to go ahead and use that to your advantage. And then later you'll be used to it and you can continue to use it to your advantage. So 1/6 to, and here we get to our predominant. So the harmonic rhythm speeds up a bit. We have A and C, which is our 4 chord, B, D, F, just a 5, and then your 1. Okay, so take a listen to how that sounds. Now let's do a practice with one that is not so nuts. So this one is going to be in B flat major. It's 3 measures. There's a couple of 16th notes. There's one like little bit of 16th notes. So you do want to keep track of it in that way, but I don't think you need to worry about that with your rhythmic dictation. They'll be pretty obvious where they are. So go ahead and set up your paper. I'm going to set up mine. So you can just be copying this down onto a piece of manuscript paper if you're really desperate, regular paper, but hopefully by now you have manuscript paper. Okay. If you don't, you need to get some manuscript paper. Okay, so here's where we are to start, right? Exactly what's on your page. So now I'm going to set up my rhythm. It's actually going to be a little bit tight. Now your left hand, you're only going to have half notes, so you don't have to worry too much about the left hand. Actually, for expediency's sake, let's go ahead and pretend like we've done the left hand rhythmic dictation because it's all half notes. You'll have a little bit more variation in the homework, but not much. So it's all half notes. I'm just going to make a mark every 2, so in the left hand. Okay, and then for my right hand, I'm going to mark out my 8th note subdivisions for the rhythm, just like that. Okay, let's try this rhythm. So just listen this first time. You can kind of pretend like it's your rhythmic dictation for the left hand. Oh, here's your key. Okay, 3 and 4 and. Okay, so now you have a sense of it. Take down the rhythm for the right hand. Let's do 2 listenings for the right hand rhythm. I'm going to slow it down just a little bit so those 16th notes don't get too crazy. So kind of like 3E and 4E and. One more. Again, if you're not counting out loud with me, now is the time to start counting out loud with me. Okay, hopefully you've started counting out loud with me, but count out loud. 3E and 4E and 1E and 2E and 3E and 4E. rhythmic marks. Just put them down on my paper. Okay, so rhythm answer. 3, 2, 1. Okay. I'm going to sketch it in above the staff. So we have a quarter. We have 2/8. We have a quarter. We have 2/8. Nothing terribly complicated so far. We have an eighth. Here's a little syncopation. So we have an eighth, a quarter, an eighth, 2/8, 4/16, an eighth, a quarter, and an eighth, and a half. And then in the bottom, we just have half, 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 half. Okay? There you go. Melody. Get the bass line first. So it's pretty leapy, but it can only go to certain notes. So the first, I'll give you a hint. The first 3 notes are tonic expansion, and then you've got a predominant note, a dominant note, and a tonic note. So spoiler alert, it ends where it starts, on do. Okay? So think back. Think actually if you have a predominant, a dominant, and a tonic, what notes do you expect those to be? What solfege do you expect them to be? And what's the most likely notes? What's do? It's B flat. What is sol? F. Tonic expansion. 1 chord, B flat and D, maybe an F, probably not. 5 chord, F, A, C, E flat. Sol, Ti, Re, Fa. Okay, so those are your options for that left hand. 3E and 4E and okay, listen again. 3E and 4E and sorry, that last measure, I've been playing that a little quiet, so this is the bass line. Do, 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 do. Okay, so take a second, maybe pause the video, think through what that should be, and I'm going to show you the answer for the left hand. It's very, very predictable. It won't be as predictable all week, but it's a fair simulation. Okay, so we have do, sol, do, fa, sol, do. Not bad, right? Pretty straightforward. Let's get the right hand. So now that we have, we're going to apply that vertical listening that we used in the species counterpoint, because again, if you don't necessarily have all the rules of, you can't have a dissonance on the downbeat, but it's going to stick out to your ear a lot. Okay, so while you're listening to the melody, try to be keeping an ear for vertical harmonies. And that should be your final check, is when you're going through to check your answers, and as you're last listening, you're going, okay, I'm going to hone in on each time the bass changes. I'm going to listen to how that sounds. 3E and 4E and what's that ending interval? Octave, right? So we're going to end on do in the right hand, right in the staff. Okay, and the second beat, let's actually do a quick analysis here. This is our tonic expansion, right? So 1, some kind of 5 or 5/7, 1, 4 or 2 for your predominant, 5 or maybe a 5/7, 1. So when you're thinking about what notes can be where, that's going to help you figure out the melody. Absorb that and then put it down for a minute and just listen. Am I going up? Am I going down? Am I going by step, or am I going by skip or by leap? Okay, so let's do a couple listenings just for that. So maybe if you're still using your arrows for direction, it's totally fine. Use that for this listening. So are you going up or down? 3E and 4E and okay. You have your direction down. So you should have your direction down. If you're not, let's listen to it once more for direction. If you have your direction, try and think about skips versus steps. 3E and 4E and okay. So I'm going to make my direction notes here. Okay. So you should have something like this. You can see that. Hopefully you can see it. Okay. Steps versus skips. If you have it, solidify it. If you don't have it, take your best guess. We're going to move on. Okay. 3E and 4E and okay. Let's talk about the melody. Okay, so so far we have the, hopefully you can see this. I'll probably have to zoom in. That's all right. The do, sol, do, fa, sol, do. In the right hand, that's all by step, right? Do, do, re, mi. I'm going to use black so you can actually see it. Do, re, mi, re. Do, 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 do. That's also by step and eighth notes. Step or skip? Pretty far, right? So that is a skip. It is outlining the one chord. And we've got that nice little syncopation there. So it's going to be do, mi, sol. And then here, we're getting to the predominant, so that's going to kind of help us figure out the rest of it. So that's just moving down by step. So we have the rhythm, so you don't even have to worry about figuring this out, solfege by solfege. But if we do fa, mi, re, do, ti, la. Sol, so it ends on sol right there, so 5 chord. It's just, it seems like a lot. Perfect. But remember, it's just outlining the 5 chord. So if you know that you have a 5 chord there, it actually gets much easier. And we have the syncopation. And it goes re, ti, do at the end. So if you recognize that re, ti, do, sol, re, ti, do, all common things to have in the last measure of a dictation. Okay, that is it. So now you're going to go do your species counterpoint practice, and you're going to do your melodic dictation homework, and you're going to have a grand old time, and you're going to let me know how you do. Okay, I'll see you in the next lesson.